The grand ballroom buzzed with excitement, filled with 200 employees, retirees, and their families. It was the 30th anniversary of Davis Construction, the company my late brother Mark and I built from the ground up. At 62, I stood at the podium, my voice echoing through the microphone as I thanked the team for 3 decades of hard work. But then my nephew, Daniel Hayes, rose from the head table. "Uncle Robert, you've been a liability for years," he declared, his tone sharp. "We're taking over the company and cutting you out. You're done here." The room went still, forks pausing midair, eyes fixed on me. My name is Robert Davis, and after a lifetime of sacrifice, I was being publicly discarded by the family I helped raise. But Daniel didn't know I'd uncovered a truth that would change everything. My sister-in-law, Margaret Hayes, sat beside Daniel, her face paling as she gripped her chair. Her daughter, Sarah, 28, held her newborn, Lily, who let out a soft cry. Whispers spread, phones rose, and I knew tomorrow this would be online. Elderly founder kicked out at company anniversary. But they didn't know the full story. I should have been devastated. I should have left, head bowed. Instead, I smiled. The kind of smile my wife Ellen used to call my steady light before she passed from illness 8 years ago. Daniel had just handed me the stage. I adjusted the microphone, ignoring the event coordinator's nudge. "Since we're airing family business," I said, my voice calm, "let me share something about this company." The room hushed. I reached into my suit pocket and pulled out a leather folder, the one I'd carried for a month, waiting for this moment. "Daniel's right," I began, locking eyes with him. "I've given my life to this company, but not just through work, through protecting it." Daniel's confident smirk wavered. He hadn't expected this. "Let's talk about the profits," I continued, opening the folder. "The ones Daniel's been siphoning off to fund his own ventures." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarah's eyes widened, and Lily fussed louder. I held up the papers. "These are financial records, emails, and a second set of books. Daniel's been diverting millions from Davis Construction to a shell company he owns with his college friend, Tom Reynolds." Margaret's hand flew to her mouth. "What?" she whispered. I pressed on. "And Lily, Sarah's daughter, isn't just a new addition to the family. She's the reason Daniel needed that money. He's been paying support to Tom's sister, who's the biological mother." I showed a DNA report. "Test confirms it. Lily is not Sarah's child." Sarah stumbled, clutching Lily. "Dad, is this true?" she demanded. Daniel's face reddened. "This is absurd, Robert. Stop this." But the crowd was already passing around the copies I'd prepared. "You've been lying to Margaret and Sarah," I said, "using company funds to cover your tracks." Tom, seated near the back, slipped toward the exit. "And Tom, next time, don't leave your signature on those transfer requests." The doors closed with a thud. Margaret stood, tears brimming. "Daniel, how could you do this?" she asked. Daniel sank into his chair, mute. The room buzzed with shock, employees murmuring, some nodding in realization. A retired manager whispered, "I always suspected something." To understand this, we need to go back. Mark and I started Davis Construction in 1995, turning a small crew into a regional powerhouse. After Mark's heart attack 10 years ago, I took the lead, working 60-hour weeks while raising my kids. When Ellen passed, Daniel, Mark's son, stepped in, promising to honor our legacy. I mentored him, even co-signed loans to expand the business, pouring $120,000 of my savings into the company over the years. But Daniel always saw me as an obstacle. He wanted control, not partnership. I noticed irregularities 2 years ago. Profits dipped, but Daniel's lifestyle, new cars, a second home, grew lavish. He brushed it off as smart investments. Last year, I found a discrepancy in the books during a late-night audit. Emails between Daniel and Tom hinted at a side business. I dug deeper, copying records and getting a DNA sample from Lily's pacifier, left at a family picnic, and Daniel's hairbrush. A discreet lab confirmed the truth. Lily was Tom's sister's child, and Daniel was the father, using company funds to support them. The morning of the gala, I sensed trouble. At breakfast, Daniel said, "Robert, you've held us back long enough. Time to step aside." Margaret looked uneasy, but stayed silent. I realized he'd used the anniversary to oust me publicly, framing me as a burden. But I was prepared. At the podium, folder in hand, I felt resolve. I handed copies to the crowd, employees, retirees, and families. These show Daniel's deception. He's been stealing from the company to fund his secret life. Faces shifted from surprise to anger. An employee muttered, "We trusted him." Margaret walked out, her shoulders slumped. 3 months later, Daniel was removed from the board. The company recovered after an audit, and I retained my shares. Margaret and Sarah reconciled, though they keep their distance from Daniel. I opened a consulting firm, using my experience to start anew. Margaret visited once, saying, "You saved us from him." "I had to," I replied. One afternoon, Daniel came to my office. His suit was disheveled, his eyes weary. "Robert, I was wrong," he said. "Can we fix this?" I thought of Ellen's advice about letting go of bitterness. "I forgive you," I said, "for my peace, not yours." Releasing that anger lifted a weight. Now, at 64, I thrive with my firm and a circle of loyal friends. Margaret and I talk occasionally. Daniel tries to reconnect, but I keep boundaries. Family isn't about obligation, it's about trust. I choose those who choose me. If this story of truth and renewal touched you, subscribe to Moment of Truth for more tales where honesty triumphs. Sometimes the hardest truths lead to the greatest freedom.